My name is John, and I'm a sinner. I'm desperately needy for God. And you are too, whether you know it or not. But in this community, what's okay about that is the worse your story, the warmer you're welcome. We're walking together through the 12 steps. And this is a big day. Today, I'm going to invite you to take step 3. Make the decision to turn our wills and our life over to the care of God as we understood him, and we understand him to be that Father that Jesus talked about. So I want you to think about doing that. Now, you may have done that before, but you have to do it again. Folks often in 12-step communities will say, I keep turning it over and taking it back. God, take my kids. No, I want them back. God, here's my worries. No, I want them back. God, here's my money. No, I'd like it back. So this is often a step that we take in a very large-scale way in our lives, but then in a daily way. But it's hard. I want to say a little bit about why it's hard and then invite you to take it. Ryan Burge is a political scientist, writes a lot about issues of faith in our day, and he notes how trust is increasingly hard. There was an article in the journal Nature not long ago, and it wrote about what's called in psychological circles the negativity bias. We're drawn towards scandal, corruption, problem, danger, damage. And among other things, people in the media, people online know this. Clicks and traffic are a big deal. They found that for every negative word in a headline, the number of clicks that it gets will be increased measurably. It's something over 2% per each negative word. So I thought about titling this episode, The Terrible, Horrible, Damaging, Devastating, Destructive, Awful, Dangerous Consequences of Negativity. But decided not to do that. But part of what that means then is that because we are so consumed, especially in our day when it's so available to us with negativity, so drawn to it like moths to a flame, it makes trust very difficult. And Ryan writes about how trust in all institutions have gone down in ways that are quite damaging to our society. However, they have gone down more when it comes to religion, trusting in faith, trusting in communities of faith, than they have for other institutions like media or government or education or the scientific community. As much as damage there has been trust, even more with God, so it becomes really difficult. And I understand surrender can be hard because it feels like I'm giving up and I'm going to become this dependent person and reliant and weaker. And we live in a world where therapeutically often we define maturity in terms of being independent. You got to get in touch with yourself, Carl Rogers would say, or individuate yourself, or separate yourself, actualize yourself. But here's the strange thing. It turns out that the more I depend on God, for example, for my security, the less I have to depend on money. The more I depend on God for my worth, the less I have to depend on my physical appearance. The more that I depend on God for confidence, the less I have to depend on other people's approval. The more that I depend on God for well-being, the less I have to depend on my circumstances. The more I depend on God for my eternity, the less I have to depend on my health. Actually, the more I depend on God, the more independent I can live in this world. Surrender is the surrender to God that brings victory. And folks with all kinds of addictions have found the more that I depend on God, when I turn my life and my will over to God, then I no longer have to depend on this object to which I was addicted. And that might be alcohol, it might be anger, it might be what other people think about me. But we live in a world where it can be very, very difficult. There's a writer, Judith Newman, who wrote about somebody who had been through 2 bouts of cancer and now had entered into hospice, and how on her social media feed, the message that kept coming back was this quite common message in our day: you got this. She's reflecting, really? Death? You got this? You're going to rock death? I don't think so. Nancy and I quite recently were with two couples where we've been friends with each other for well over 30 years now, and knew each other back in eras of early days of marriage and having babies, and now have walked through a lot of stuff. And maybe the primary thing that we talked about, what we learned, is how much we are not in control. And how do we help each other in this era of life as we deal with gratitude in so many good things and so many blessings, and also wounds and difficulties and pains and doubts and questions? How do we help each other in real life? Writer and cancer survivor Kate Bowler put it like this: the writings of the saints are full of commands to let go, to submit yourself to what seems to be the will of the Almighty. These are the wise ones that have gone before us. All of American culture and pop psychology scream against that. Never give up on your dreams. Just keep knocking. The door is about to open. Think positively. Self-improvement guaranteed. The entire motivational speaking industry rests on the assumption that you can have what you want, you can be what you want, just do it. But we cannot. We are not in control. We surrender in order to win. Not just to any God, to a God in particular, to the God who is known and loved and described by Jesus. There's a wonderful little picture of this care. We turn our will and our lives over to the care of God. Now, this means I have to believe that this God cares about me, about you. In Gary Moon's biography of Dallas Willard, he has a wonderful little image of this. At the end of the book, after Dallas has died, Gary is sitting in the car with his wife, Regina, at a retreat center, Casa de Maria, where he saw Dallas Willard for the final time just a few months before Dallas died. They were sitting in their car talking and reflecting, and a woman knocked on the window and said she was here with her dog. Her dog is blind, can't see, so she needed to make sure Gary and Gina were not going to back the car up because that could hurt the dog. And Gary said no, and then he and Regina talked some more. And then he heard a scraping sound, and he turned and he looks at something that just arrested him. There was this woman with this old dog that she clearly loved, and the dog could not see, but he had a tennis ball in his mouth, and he seemed to be, Gary said, almost laughing with joy. And the woman was walking backwards, kind of in figure eights, facing that dog, watching that dog. And she was, with her shoes, kind of scraping along in that asphalt parking lot so that she would be making noise, so that the dog could hear and the dog could follow. And Gary said she kept talking to the dog and saying, I see you. I got you. I'm with you. And it was a picture of love and care for a little creature that was kind of helpless, that Gary said it was like a little parable. It was like God saying, I know you can't see. I know you can't see me. I know you can't see spiritual reality, but I just want you to know, I see you. I'm with you. I got you. And I'll make little scraping sounds. The beauty of the earth, the smile of a friend, a thought of hope, the offering of a prayer, the giving of a gift. That I'll make little scraping sounds so that you'll know you're not alone. I'm with you and I love you and I got you. We turn our wills, my choices, from one moment to the next. It's not about my will. It's not about my desires. It's not about my circumstances. It's not about my outcomes. Those two I surrender. We struggle and wrestle and doubt with God sometimes. He's like, but I want this good thing, and I want this good thing, and I want this for my child, or I want this for my family, or I want this for my body or for my health. Maybe not. But it's ultimately not about, can I get these desires? Because I'm not God. I am not in control. I don't know what is best. Joseph would never have thought that ended up being sold into slavery and then ended up being sold into prison would be best, but God used it in amazing ways. I don't know. All I know is I'm not in control. And a life run on self-will and ego is going to be a train wreck. And so now today, my friend in the fellowship of the withered hand, if you're ready, I want to invite you to take this third step, this momentous step, this act of surrender that so many have done before, that Jesus still comes and calls people to. There's a prayer in 12-step circles that is an expression of this. And I want to invite you right now, if you want to, if you're ready, to say this prayer to God through the invitation and in the presence of Jesus. As you hear that little scrape, 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 he's right here. And this is the prayer. God, I offer myself to you to build with me and to do with me as you will. Relieve me of my bondage to self, that I might better do your will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them might bear witness to those I would help of your power, your love, and your way of life. May I do your will always. In Jesus' name, amen. And if you have thought it through and said that prayer sincerely from the heart, you have taken step 3. But don't stop there. Keep coming back. It works if you work it.
Hey, you just finished a video from our series, Steps, which is based on John's new book releasing February 4th by the same name, Steps. So if you're catching this video before February 4th, you might want to pre-order the book. You can do that at our website, becomenew.com/steps. And when you pre-order, it will unlock exclusive content from John just for you. While you're there, you can subscribe to Become New to make sure you don't miss any future episodes in this series or any other videos that we do. As a community, we believe in spiritual growth one day at a time, and a big part of that is prayer. There's a team of us that meets each weekday, Monday through Friday, to pray for viewers just like yourself. So if you have a specific prayer request, we would love to pray with you. You can text it to us to 855-888-0444 or email it to us at connect@becomenew.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.